Hey guys, so this is Shani here, and I am going to show you just a quick little intro because I want to show you what I'm going to be using for the rest of the video. So first, I have a photo that is a rather older photo of India. She was super tiny. This was her first Halloween. It was in 2016, and it's just a photo I haven't scrapped yet, and I loved the painted kind of effect. Sorry, my brain's crazy. Of this paper. This is the Lily Impressions Designer Series paper. It is from the Sale-a-bration stuff. I think this is a $50. One of the ones that you get free if you spend $50. There's also die cuts or dies and stamps that go along with it. But today I think I'm not using those because they don't really go with the theme. I'm just using the papers, and then I'll use some alpha stamps as well. So that's the photo I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to show you really quickly just the paper. The paper is double-sided, and then you get 2 sheets each, and I think 12 total. Yeah, I think 12 pieces total. So you get some really fun, bright colors on one side, and then some more neutrals, not neutrals, but like some more solid kind of prints on the other side. I love that. I think that's going to be our background paper for today. So they're just really fun, and because they're 12 by 12, they're great for scrapbooking. And there's those side, the B side, and then all the A side. And these are really cool because the patterns themselves were actually taken from paintings. The designer painted actual paintings and then turned it into paper. So I thought that was really neat. So I'm going to hit fast forward, and you'll hear me in the voiceover and get started. Thanks. Hey guys, Shadney back, and I am now on the voiceover. We've sped up the video, and so now I'm just going to show you what I did to create this fun layout. So first of all, I pulled out that, I think it's Calypso Coral. Sorry, Calypso Coral. I'm still really bad with colors for Stampin' Up. I'm not good at remembering all the colors right now. I also will go ahead and warn you that I did not get up early to do my voiceover, so you will probably hear India and or Phil in the background. I'm also doing it in the craft room rather than out in the living room where I usually do it, so you'll hear my chair squeaking. I apologize in advance. So now what I've done is that Calypso Coral textured background is going to be my textured cardstock is going to be my background. So all the other papers in this collection, I'm going to cut a 3-inch strip of each paper. And remember, they're double-sided, so I don't need one from each one. I just need one from half of them, if that makes sense, because they repeat. So I've cut a 3-inch strip of each one, and I will punch circles out in a minute. You'll see. And then this one, I'm going to go ahead and cut a mat for my photo. I did cut it and then decided I wanted it thinner. So instead of doing it on the trimmer, I've noticed that I really like the little guillotine trimmer to use for doing cutting small, like, sorry, my brain's like not there yet. For cutting my small photo borders, I like the guillotine trimmer because I can gauge better how wide it's going to be. It's just like a mental thing for myself. So then I pull out a compass to make circles on my page. It's got a pencil tip. And whenever I was holding it over my photo, I was trying to find the center of the photo, but I did not lay it on my photo because it would have poked a hole in it. So I went ahead and did one circle there, and then I'll go back in a minute and show you the rest. I pulled out my 1-inch circle punch and punch some, and then this is just to test the width right now, and then cut them in half. So this is what I'm going to do all over the page, but I was trying to make sure that my rings are far enough apart. So instead of trying to make sure each ring is the same amount spaced apart, each ring I did just a little bit wider than the last one, and I just eyeballed it. I didn't make it very precise or anything, but I just made sure that my the little pokey part of the compass stayed in the middle. So I've got, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rings. No, 6 rings. Sorry. I've got 6 rings that I'm going to go around. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going through and punching holes from all the way around the sides of all those 3-inch strips that I cut. And then I'll go ahead and punch all of them and then cut them all in half. And I will fast forward so you don't have to watch the whole thing because it was 6 pieces. So it took a while. But then I'll just end up with a pile. So here we go. We've got this nice big pile. And then I've got my Nuvo liquid adhesive. It doesn't matter what liquid adhesive you use. I just like Nuvo and I have a bunch of it. So I am using it up. And I just go around and just randomly add these on. I am overlapping it over the pencil lines so that you don't see the pencil lines. But, and then I'll just keep going all the way around. I keep it really random and I try to, like if I notice I haven't had a green in a while, I try to do a green, etc. I do end up with a lot of leftovers and India will take them in a minute. So there we go. We've got almost all of them down and then India decides to come help me. So thinks she's being a big helper. It was really sweet though. She was trying and she was handing me one at a time and then she put a big pile in the middle there. So it was interesting. So she is being the keeper of the half circles. So once I get them all adhered on, I'm just making sure my photo still looks right there and that I like how it like overlaps all the circles. And I think I just left this in because India was playing with the circles. I thought it was cute. I don't know that I can't tell that I'm doing anything. So then once that's dried just a little bit, I go in and trim off the overhanging ones. And those little ones on the left side that fell off, they weren't glued down. They were ones India placed on there. So it wasn't a big deal. Like they didn't fall off or anything. India just had laid them on there.
Mommy, I am Belle.
Okay, I'm back. So I had to take a break for a couple hours. India, dressed as Belle, had to come help me craft. So she is now down for a nap and I am back to being alone. So right now what I've done is I just wanted some splatter. So I took some of the white, it's the ink refills for the white pigment stamp from Stampin' Up. I took an old dodgy brush and used it and wet down and mixed water into the pigment ink because it's kind of thick and just used that to splatter. I really like how it turned out. I mean, it did really well and it was very pigmented, so it stayed very white instead of like dry and kind of dull or see-through. But I did splatter it everywhere. Thankfully the pictures are older pictures that I had printed from Shutterfly. And so I was able to wipe it off with just a lightly damp paper towel and got all that white pigment off the photo. If it was a photo that right now I print my photos at home, and if it was one of those, I wouldn't have been able to wipe it off. I would have had to reprint the photos. So thankfully that worked out pretty well. So now I've got my photo all cleaned off. I've got my whole counter or tabletop cleaned off. And I'm pulling out some pink Mambo cardstock so that I can do my title. And I'm going to use the lined alphabet stamps. And I'm using pink Mambo ink pad as well. So I'm going to stamp out all the letters. I'm spelling out the phrase little artist. And so I'm stamping all the letters for those words, and I'm not doing them in order and I'm not doing them straight in a line or anything. I'm just doing them in a cluster because then I'm going to go in and stamp over them as well to give them some texture. So I'll fast forward so you don't have to watch this whole thing. And then I pull out the Artisan Textures stamp set, and I'm using the different textures randomly stamped over the letters I already stamped, just to give them some nice, fun, artsy textures. And I don't know if I mean, obviously you can't tell this from the video, but I edit my videos a lot. So whenever I pull my hands back with the stamp set and then put them back in the container, I take them on my lap and clean them before I put them back in the container. I just don't think you need to see that whole thing because it's kind of boring. So I do clean my stamps after I use them, just FYI. I don't want you to think I'm putting dirty stamps away and like ruining my stamps. So I've got those all stamped up, and then I'm going to go in and fussy cut all those letters. I know some people don't like fussy cutting. I really don't mind it. I kind of enjoy fussy cutting, and I like the added control of having it be exactly what I want it to be. So I go ahead and cut all of these letters out, and then I will, of course, edit so you don't have to watch the whole thing. And then the way I stamped the textures, because I did it kind of randomly and I did the letters kind of randomly, they don't all match exactly, but they look all splattery. It's really fun. And then I pull out an X-Acto knife and craft mat to cut out the middle of the A and the E. And then there we go. So I'm going to put these on the layout. I was thinking originally to put them up there next to the picture, but it's so busy I feel like they get lost. So I was trying them down here at the bottom, but I don't really like that either. So I'm just going to mess with it for a few minutes, and then I'll have a better idea and then move them. Okay, so now I'm going to try to move it one way or the other so that I can get the alphabet on the what's it called? Coral, something coral. Melon, Calypso coral. Sorry, Calypso coral background. Sorry, I was looking at my stamps to see, my ink pads to see what color it was. So I moved the photo over so it's centered in the page, not centered in the circles, so that the title will look better right there. And you can actually see the title. So there we go. I'm just going to adhere these down with some liquid glue just to attach them really well. I thought about using foam dots, but I popped up my photo, so I didn't really want to use foam dots for the alphabet. So, and then that's all adhered down. I pulled out some of this paper, like the background paper, and I'm just drawing. I want to add some paintbrushes. So I'm just drawing, this will be like the paintbrush handle. And then I'm going to do it on two other colors. So I'll have it on the coral color, the blue, and the pink. And I did try to position where I drew the little handles. I tried to make them similarly in length. That's why I kind of held them up to next to each other so that I could see how long each one was, but I also tried to make sure they were in a lighter colored part of the painted background papers. So I just did these really quickly, kind of scribbly. I did a couple rounds of it just so you get that sketchy kind of look, and I'm just gonna fussy cut those out really quickly. And then I will move on to do the rest of the brushes. And then, sorry, the the camera is moving. India, when she's at her side of the table, anytime she like bumps up against, it's moving the whole table and including the camera. So sorry. I pulled out the Artisan Texture stamps again. I did the more solid colored one with I think it's the Smoky Slate, I can't remember, ink pad, just to stamp some gray. I just needed some gray, and I didn't want to cut into any large pieces of cardstock for these little pieces. So I'm just doing like the metal part of where your paintbrush, that holds the bristles to the wooden part handle of your paintbrush, and out of that gray, fussy cutting those. And then I will adhere them down with some liquid adhesive. And really any gray would work. You don't have to do the stamping technique. I just did it because it was easier for me mentally to do that than to go hunt down for some gray cardstock. I really wish I had some of the metallic, like the foil paper, because that would have looked really nice. More like real metal, but it worked out really well because this has that paintery kind of effect as well. So now I'm just trying to figure out how I want them layered up on the photo right there, just clustered together. And then I'm going to pull out that other paper. It's the same paper that I backed the photo with, and it's got some different little areas of color. So I'm going to use the different areas and draw the bristle end of the paintbrush and just fussy cut those out as well. And then I decided I wanted to add a little bit more texture to this end. So I will also, I'm going to pull out my Tombow Mono adhesive and add just a little bit to the tip. And then dip, I'm going to do it to each one, but then I'll dip after I add the adhesive just a little bit to the end, I will dip it into the Dazzling Diamonds glitter. And it'll just give it some nice sparkle and a little bit extra something, and it kind of looks more like it has paint or something on the end of the paintbrushes. So there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and start adhering these down. I use liquid adhesive to adhere the paintbrushes. I'm going to do that one that tucks under the photo first. And just kind of carefully tuck it back under the photo. The photo's still not adhered down at this point, and then I realized it's not, and decided I should probably adhere that down. So I use liquid adhesive for that, just because there's so much texture with those circles. I just figured it was safe to use the liquid adhesive to adhere it down. So there we go, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach these paintbrushes. I'll do the blue one first because that coral one will layer over the top of it. And I'm just trying to mess around and feel out how I want them layered so that the ends will stick out nicely, if that makes any sense. This one I adhered completely flat onto the photo and then onto the background. And then the coral one, I'm going to add some foam dots to the ends that are hanging off the photo and then adhere with liquid glue onto the actual photo. And then I'll get it adhered on, but then I realized that the photo with it, like a photo, the cardstock, and another layer of cardstock, which is the pattern paper, it makes it a little more dimensional. So I do end up going back and adding a second layer of foam behind those ends of the coral paintbrush. And then I have those pieces all ready to go with the glitter and everything, and I'm going to start adhering those down. I do use foam dots to adhere all of these down. And then the coral brushes one, I add 2 layers of foam so that it'll pop up just a little bit. And you just have to be careful of where you add your foam so that because it's overlaps that other one a little bit. So I just need 1 layer of foam where it'll overlap and then 2 at the rest of it. So I'll adhere it down, and then I also realized that the top isn't overlapped as much as I thought it was, so I'll add another foam dot right there. And these are the mini dimensionals. If you have not heard me talk about it, the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals are amazing. They are my new favorite thing. They are hexagon shaped, which is kind of different and kind of fun, but it makes it really nice when you have something, like you get a nice smooth edge across when you see the dimensionals. It doesn't make sense. In my head, it makes sense. And then they're really sticky, which is really nice, and they're thin, so you can kind of layer them up at different levels. So if you can't tell from past videos, I really like a lot of dimension on my layouts, and that gives me more room to add dimension without being like an inch thick. So right here, I just cut out some white cardstock into 1/4 inch strips, and then I'm adding my journaling on there just because you can't the page has so much going on, you're not going to be able to read journaling if I wrote it directly on the page. And I just like the look of the white strips. And I'm also lazy and didn't want to go type and try to print and deal with the printer. So just write it on there with the little journaling pins. So I cut the strips down to just closer to the alphabet. I think I did that off camera. I don't think you saw that. And then just kind of laid them out. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere them down with the Nuvo adhesive. And I did because this is an older photo, but I'm writing it from a current perspective. So I did add the month and year for when the photo was actually taken, and then also when I recorded the photo, the month and the year, so that, I mean, whenever you go back and look at it, you kind of have an understanding of what perspective I was coming from with it. I pulled out these sequins. They come in yellow, orange, and blue. It's that Calypso coral kind of orange. And they come in a set. It's also a Sale-a-bration thing, $50 item. So if you spend $50, you can get this item for free. And it comes with 2 little spools of baker's twine as well. And I'm just going to use the orangey and the blue sequins out of it. And I had never used Tombow mono adhesive, like the liquid adhesive, until I became a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So it's really interesting. When it dries, it's still sticky. It's like, what's it called? The gold leafing adhesive. Like you add it and you let it dry and then you stick the gold leafing on. It's similar to that. So whenever it dries, if you just did it on paper and let it dry completely, it would still be sticky. So you could go back and add stuff. So it's not my favorite adhesive just in general because it doesn't dry like super quickly like the Nuvo adhesive does. But it is perfect for sequins because everyone always complains about sequins popping off when you glue them on. And so they say to use glue dots. And this is basically what that is. When they dry, when the Tombow mono adhesive dries, it's like a glue dot, like kind of texture and stickiness. So they're perfect for sequins. So there's a really big tip. So I am still going to keep using my Nuvo adhesive, but for sequins and like little rhinestones and stuff, Tombow mono is where it's at. So now I pulled out some little rhinestones and just added those about for a little bit more color and texture. And those are in a different color, terracotta tile, I think, from the 2019-2021 in colors. So anyways, sorry, I'm kind of tangenty today. Sorry about that. I really love how this layout turned out. It was a lot of fun and a lot of like cool textures and colors and stuff. So I think it was perfect, especially for the photos. It just worked out so much better than I even imagined in my head, which is always great. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and are inspired inspired to make something really fun today. If you like this video, please leave a comment or hit like. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. If you're interested in any of the products I used, I will link them all down below. Have a wonderful day. Happy scrapping. Bye.